Hey everyone, Josh here with a look at another Star Wars toy, and today we're going to do an unboxing video. Today we're going to unbox a figure 4-pack from the Force Link line. This is Rey, Rose, a First Order Walker Driver, and a First Order Gunner. So let's take these guys over and cut them loose. Come on. Alright everybody, here we are today with a figure 4-pack from The Last Jedi. This is called Battle on Crait. And we've got 4 figures we're looking at here. We have Rey, a First Order Walker Driver, and a First Order Gunner, and Rose. And we are going to unbox this thing today, but before we get that far, let's just quickly spin the packaging around so you guys can take a look at it. And there we go. And this is one of the few Force Link figures, because this is a Force Link figure that actually has character descriptions on the back, which is pretty uncommon for this line. There are a few items out there that have it, but let me go ahead and read those to you. Rose, part of the support crew that keeps the resistant starfighters flying, Rose has hated the First Order since she was a child. Now able to fight back against the enemy, Rose keeps her focus on her mission. First Order Gunner. The First Order Gunners crew the heavy weapons emplacements that dot the surface of cruisers and installations. First Order Walker Drivers. The First Order unleashes enormous armored walkers into combat, manned by a crew of specialists coordinating the movements of the complex vehicles. Rey. At long last, Rey has found Luke Skywalker, the last Jedi Master in the galaxy. Hoping to find a hero of legend, she must unlearn what she has learned as Skywalker challenges her expectations. And if you're familiar with The Last Jedi, of course, you know those are the quick descriptions of their roles in the movies. And let's unbox these guys. I've been pretty excited to get into this thing. I don't have the First Order Walker Driver or Gunner yet, so this is cool. Alright, so we have the 4-pack out. You can see there's tons of accessories, and of course Rey has the most here. And let's run through these guys one at a time. Let's start with Rose, and it doesn't look like she's taped in there or anything like that. Okay, so here is little Rose, and as you can see, she comes with a little poncho or raincoat, whatever you want to call it, and it looks like this thing is removable. In fact, actually on the packaging, they show it off of her, but it looks like her head is much too big to pull the raincoat over her head. So we're not going to try that today. To be completely honest with you, I think to remove the raincoat off this figure, you're actually going to have to pop the head off, and I don't really like doing that unless I absolutely have to. So if you have this set and you want to remove her poncho, and I'm pretty sure you're going to have to remove the head of the figure, because I'm looking at the hole for the poncho and it's very small, and it's much smaller than her head. So what I'll just do is flip it up so you can see what she looks like under there. And as you can see, she's wearing part of the First Order officer's outfit that they wore in the movie to sneak onto the large destroyer. You can see she's got the big black boots and the bluish gray pants. And if you look really close, you can actually see she's wearing the little gold necklace that reminds her of her sister. And I'm really pretty sure that's all there is to see under there. Yeah, that's about it. So, it's up to you if you own this figure, if you want to try to remove the poncho, but I'm not actually going to try that today. So looking at her gun, you can see she comes with one of the blaster rifles. Light gray color. It almost looks chrome. It's not really coming across on camera that way, but in person it kind of almost looks like it has a chrome finish to it. Very nice. So real quick, let's run through this character's movements. So we have a head rotation and a little bit of up and down movement, not much. And then looking at her arms, you're gonna have movement at her shoulders, and then she has wrist rotation as well. And just because she's wearing the poncho, this is as far up as you're going to get her arms. And I'm sure they move the rest of the way, but you're going to have to remove the poncho. And then, of course, she's got the regular hip movement at her hips there. So you can sit her down so she can slide into the ski speeder. All right, and let's see how well she holds this weapon. And I'm already looking at both her hands, and it looks like you're going to be able to fit this thing into both of her hands. But if you look at her left hand here, you can actually see she has a little trigger finger out, and it's not that way on the other hand. But as you can see, she holds the blaster just fine. And I think it's going to probably look a little bit better in this hand. Yeah, it kind of sits a little bit better into her hand. And you can see they actually have her finger going over the trigger there. So that looks really cool. Okay. So there's Rose. Let's go ahead and stick her on a stand here. Okay, so moving on. Let's try Rey next. And we have her staff and her pistol as well. Okay, so here is the close-up of Rey, and she looks almost identical to the single figure that you can buy of hers in the Force Link line, Force Link 1.0. But the main difference I'm seeing right now is if you look at her boots, they have some of the white dirt from Crait on her shoes. So that's pretty cool. And if, of course, you've seen The Last Jedi, you remember the surface of the planet of Crait. It was dusted with this white sand-like material that once you scratched the surface underneath, it was red. But then you have, I'm going to get her out of here. You have, of course, Rey's staff that she carried through The Force Awakens, and she actually carries it in The Last Jedi as well. And you can see it has the shoulder strap. And then we have the Skywalker lightsaber, and I'm trying to see if the blade is removable, and it does not appear to be. So you have the Skywalker lightsaber, and you can see there's a little belt loop on there, and I'm going to look at her belt, and there's no way to attach it. So they put the loop for attaching it to her belt on there, but you cannot do that. But of course the Skywalker lightsaber, and then the Solo pistol that was given to her in The Force Awakens from Han Solo. So, all right, and then here's the figure, and real quick, we're going to run through her movements here. So, on her head, you have side to side, and because of her hair, you can't spin her head all the way around if that's something you wanted to do. And a little bit of up and down movement on the head, not very much. And then you have shoulder rotation. Let's see here, no wrist movement on this figure. And then you have hip movement. You can move her legs forward, and due to the robe on the back of her here, you can't really move her legs backwards. That's about as far as you're going to get. So there's a little bit of restriction on her legs. So let's check out how well she holds these weapons here. So, okay. And just looking at her hands closely, it looks like one of them was specifically designed, the one I have it in here, her right hand, to hold the pistol. As you can see, there's a little tiny trigger finger out, and it lines up with the trigger very nicely. And also because the holster is on this side, so we'll slide the gun into the holster. Alright, I think I have it in there backwards. Okay, there we go. So you can see how that works. And then just looking at this hand, to me, that looks like it's meant to hold a lightsaber. So let's see how well this lightsaber goes into her hand. Okay. She's got a pretty good grip on it. It's in there fairly well. Okay. So, and then finally, we have the staff, and I'm sure she won't have any problem holding that. It's got a pretty good grip on it. Very good. And then let's check out this shoulder strap thing here. And so if you want to strap her, sling it across her shoulder, that it does that as well. You can see I'm having to bend it a little bit though. Let's check it out on this side. Actually looks like it should be. Okay, that looks a little bit better, but there you go. So she can sling it over her shoulder. Very cool. And we're going to put that to the side for now. And there is Rey. Very cool. All right. Let's get her on a stand as well. Very cool. And so next we're going to look at the First Order Gunner. And these guys are in the movie. I know unless you're a serious fan, you might have missed it, but it went at the very beginning of the movie when they're doing that space battle and they're trying to shoot down that big First Order dreadnought. And you may remember there's a part in the movie where they start shooting these large cannons at the surface of the planet the Resistance is trying to leave. You can actually see these guys very briefly. They show them for a second at the control panel of the gun. And so they didn't have a big part in the movie, but they were there briefly. And yeah, these guys are in all black. You have the First Order emblem right there. And one crazy looking helmet. So, all right. So let's run through this guy's movements real quick. So at the head, you have a full rotation, little bit of up and down wiggle, shoulder rotation. Let's see here. Do the wrists move? No wrist movement. And then, of course, your standard hip movement as well. And this guy, you can turn him backwards. There's no robe or anything. And then he comes with this little tiny pistol. Oops. And it's tricky to hold on to. Okay, so let's see how well he holds this thing here. And same thing with this guy. It looks like the pistol is meant to be held in this hand, just by the way they have the fist posed on this figure. So that's my guess. But it also looks like if you want, you can put it in either hand. It sits a little bit higher in that hand, but he does hold it. So very good there with that. Okay, so there is your First Order Gunner. We're going to get this guy on a stand as well. Okay. Very good. All right. making sure you can see them. Okay, and then finally we have the First Order Walker driver, and he has a blaster rifle. Okay, and so these guys are almost identical to First Order snowtroopers, except the main thing I'm seeing that's different is of course, the gray highlights, and also the gray, darker gray suit that's underneath his armor. And wow, there's absolutely no flexibility to this lower part that he's got here, this cape part that's hanging down. But here he is. And of course, then you have the gray stripe, the highlight over the top of the helmet. Let me see if this comes off here. Feels like it. Yeah, it does. All right, good deal. So the backpack is removable. So there we go. But there he is. Very nice. Okay, so real quick, we're going to run through his movements here. So you have a head rotation, a little bit up and down wiggle, arm rotation. I don't see any wrist movement, unfortunately. No waist movement. And then of course, he's got to sit down to drive the walker. And I hope they make that big walker into a toy one day. That thing was awesome. Okay. And then here is the backpack. It's a little bit different than the snowtrooper one, but it's all white, and then there's one little highlight here, and that's actually not even a highlight, it's just a little bump out. Very cool. All right, so let's get that back in there. Okay. And it's on there very good. It was pretty difficult to get out. So just be aware of that. And then we have his blaster rifle. Very nice. And let's see how he holds this thing. It really kind of looks like you could put this in either hand on this figure. And let's see how that looks. Okay. Very cool. All right. I think we're going to keep it in that hand for now. Okay. And we'll go ahead and stand this guy up. Put a stand on him as well. And we'll bring everyone back in real quick for the lineup. Okay, and so as you saw on the packaging, these are Force Link figures, and we do have a Force Link scanner here. We're going to scan these guys real quick. And if you're not familiar with what that is, this is what a Force Link scanner looks like. This is a Force Link 1.0 scanner. At this point, it goes up to 2.0. There are two versions of the scanner, and I actually have both of them here. So this is the 2.0 scanner. It's white and green, and I just turned it on. So you kind of turn it on by... Orders received. Oh, we just scanned a figure. So you can just see there's slight design differences to them, but they are essentially the same thing. But I get asked from time to time, will the Force Link 2.0 scanner scan Force Link 1.0 figures?
Orders received. Call in the airstrike.
And yes, they will. So I just wanted to show you guys that that does work. And we're going to try using this one today, though. Let's see how it goes. And so this is how you turn this guy on. Okay, there you go. You got to tap the back. You're going to hear the sounds. It's going to light up. And then you scan the figures, and you tap the back of the device, and you should cycle through some of the sayings. So let's see what the First Order gunner has to say. That's a new one. Resistance scum.
They're getting away! Scramble all squads. Repeat, scramble all squads!
Alright, so there you hear him, the First Order gunner. Let's see what Ray has to say.
I think I can handle myself. Well, come on, we've got to stop them. Get to the resistance base as soon as possible. Follow me. Well, come on, we've got to stop them.
Alright, there you hear some of Ray's sayings. Let's see what Miss Rose has to say.
I'm ready for my mission. Quickly, stormtroopers are coming. You can't give up on the resistance. Quickly, stormtroopers are coming. You can't give up on the resistance. Quickly, stormtroopers are coming.
Okay, so we heard some of her sayings. And the First Order walker driver.
Orders received. Call in the airstrike. We need more troops. Call in the airstrike.
Call in the airstrike.
We need more troops.
You're supposed to be able to move it too and get additional
Orders received.
sayings, but
Call in the airstrike. We need more troops.
that's one thing that's kind of frustrating about the Force Link is what comes out of the device is kind of random. So that's how it works. Alright guys, there it is from the Force Link line 1.0 and the Last Jedi movie. This is the First Order gunner, Rey, Rose, and the First Order walker driver from a Last Jedi figure 4-pack. Alright guys, and if you're finding me for the first time, please subscribe to the channel. And I appreciate everyone watching. I appreciate your support.